Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod. Thrilled to be here with
pal.
you, my friend. So excited to see you. You look beautiful today.
Thank you. You look beautiful today.
Well, I'm having a good day today, I gotta say.
That's good.
That's been a rarity lately, but you're not having a good day.
No, I had a little, car thing going on and, Wyatt home this morning and trying to get out the door and that kind of thing. But it's all good. I'm here. We're sitting here. We're doing it.
We are doing it. You want to cover this one first? We got a lot of news.
Yeah. My writing on this is very small, so I'm trying to remember the report from yesterday. That's okay. But there's a report that came out forecasting the economic burden of autism in 2015 to 2025 in the United States. And the abstract basically says, few estimates of the economic burden of autism, of ASD, are available. They forecasted in this study annual direct medical, direct non-medical, and productivity costs combined will be $268 billion. That's just the median. The range is 162 to 367 billion, and for 2015, and 461 billion for 2025. The range being 276 and 1,011 billion. I don't even know how to think of that kind of money.
Yeah.
And that is saying that the 2015 figures are on par with recent estimates for diabetes and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, exceeds the cost of stroke and hypertension. If the prevalence of ASD grows, ASD will far exceed those of diabetes and ADHD by 2025.
You know what's interesting to me about this, though, is that you would expect there to be a high cost associated with diabetes, but It's shocking to me. I don't know if it's just that diabetes and attention deficit are on a par with each other.
I think one of the reasons for that, or at least that what I intuited from this, is that the medical costs, because there are many, many drugs
That's true.
for children with ADHD. There is Intuitive and what's the big one they always give?
Ritalin.
Ritalin.
Yeah.
So there's so many drugs prescribed for that, which probably cost in the billions or in the millions, I guess here.
Yeah.
For now. No, in the billions right now. So I think that the cost of the drugs and the treatment because there's so many children that are being treated for ADHD, whereas maybe some of the costs, aren't, and also maybe the costs aren't reported for autism because so many are off.
It's kind of shocking to me.
Yeah.
It's a little shocking to me. And I'm wondering, as you're saying that, I'm wondering if part of that is all the malpractice suits that have come with some of those drugs.
Could be. I don't know how they based that, but it was just an interesting that obviously it's continuing to grow.
Absolutely. And yesterday we covered a story that we want to continue to cover because we all get a say in this. A group of U.S. experts, the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force, published earlier this week their recommendation that they could not recommend early screening for autism. And everyone has been left scratching their heads because they admit in their report that we know that early diagnosis is key towards getting treatment, and that getting treatment is key towards getting best possible outcomes. And yet they felt that there weren't enough studies showing whether or not the outcome is enough to warrant doing the screening. It's an outrage. It's an absolute outrage. I am just gobsmacked over this. But the nice thing about it is that the public gets 30 days in which to comment.
Okay.
I know I promised you that we would get that link for you yesterday. We do have it, and Kelby's got it. We're going to be putting it up during this hour on our Facebook page. We need everyone to be commenting intelligently about this and letting people know what our lives would have been like if we had gotten a diagnosis earlier, if there had been more screening.
And for those of that every day of my life.
Right, and for those of you who got the early screening, where you would have been if you didn't get to start the treatment.
Right.
These people we need boots on the ground, they need to see faces, because this is beyond stupid.
The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force.
Yes. making recommendations that go out to all doctors for preventing things. And we know from their statistics that only about 50% of pediatricians currently are engaged in early screening. That number was shocking to me after all of the things that have been out there. Why are only 50%? It's because of trash like this.
Yeah. Well, it's extremely shocking because it says that it needs more evidence to support universal screening for autism in young children who show no developmental problems. But in my experience with Wyatt, his 1-year checkup, well, he was not regressing at that point. He was above a level for everything, all of his, benchmarks. Okay. However, between 1 and 2 was when the regression started, and that was when I got the standard, oh, he's a boy, late talker. And at his 2-year checkup, it was so brief, so fast, and because he wasn't nonverbal at 2, he wasn't hand flapping or toe walking, and that's what I thought autism was, nonverbal toe walking, hand flapping. My pediatrician did not ask me if he was lining up objects. I did express concerns that his tantrums were starting to be, and he goes, well, we know that his language is a little delayed. So it wasn't until he was 3, and then at 3, it was still nothing about autism. Yeah. Well, he's at least a year behind on everything. Now go find somebody to assess him. And finally, at 4, he was adequately diagnosed.
It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. And if you think about it, the screenings that they have for children that they have now at 1 year and at 18 months and at 2 years, it takes a doctor less than 2 minutes to go through it. They don't need to have a manual. It doesn't cost them anything. There is no cost to it. It takes less than 2 minutes. So ask yourself, why aren't we recommending that for every single child?
Why would we not do that?
Where's the money? Because it ends up with people getting treatment. That's why. And it costs insurance. So we need to fight this tooth and nail.
Okay, so
and
you're
let these
putting...
people, the link to comment will be on our Facebook.
Okay.
During this hour, Kelby's taking care of that. And by the way, we're going to now, Kelby suggested this morning that he's going to put the links to the stories that we're covering on the show on our Facebook as well, so that you'll be able to go back to the original story that we've gone to, which is a lovely thing that Kelby has, that he had that idea to do that and is willing to help us to get that done.
Okay, great.
I don't know if anybody saw this morning in the Huffington Post, there was an article entitled "Why Every Tech Startup Could Use Someone with Autism." Love it when we see these articles, and someplace like Huffington Post covering that. Josh Tehan is the founder and CEO of CrossFox Innovation, an innovative consulting and business development company focused on bringing innovative ideas and systems to corporations looking to expand and grow their existing operations. This article is written by him in the HuffPost and talking about why the things that are part of the autism spectrum diagnosis can be very beneficial to a company such as a tech startup.
Yeah.
Describing why we need to be hiring from our community. So we want to thank Josh for those lovely comments, and I want you to check out that article, which is on the HuffPost, but Kelby will have the link to it on our Facebook.
Right. Good. That's great.
Yes.
And there was one more story we had about missing piece surfaces in the puzzle of autism, which it was a study carried out in France, and scientists from the Salk Institute in San Diego. They've revealed a new gene that plays a crucial role during early development in humans and whose underexpression may induce certain autistic traits.
Absolutely. And this article, which comes to us from the medical press that we're quoting here, one of the things that I found interesting is that I'm always looking for statistics on how many individuals there are in the world with autism. And it's estimated at different places, but in this article, they are estimating 7.6 million people on the autism spectrum. That's the highest number I have ever seen in estimates. 7.6 million people, and that is coming to us from the World Health Organization. I'd never seen that statistic from them before. But more and more as we learn about the genes, we're getting closer and close to finding the missing pieces.
Right, and this team discovered that the gene coding for MOCOS, M-O-C-O-S, molybdenum, I can't even say it, cofactor sulfurase enzyme was underexpressed in stem cells from 9 out of 11 of the ASD adults studied.
Significant.
That's very significant. The underexpression was particularly interesting because although hundreds of genes have already been identified for their presumed roles in autistic disorders, each one alone can only at best explain 1% of cases. So this sounds like it's got extremely high level, this gene code being underexpressed,
yes,
and might lead to some answers.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we keep talking about phenotyping autism and finding all the different puzzle pieces, but something like this, which appears to affect a great number of people on the autism spectrum, you know, if we know something is underexpressed, then as they start looking for a drug to cause it to express itself more, we might get closer and closer to something that can make a significant change.
Right.
Could be exciting.
Okay.
So we've got this great guest who's going to be with us today. Dr. Linda Barboa is going to be with us. She holds many different degrees, and in particular, though, we're talking with her today about a book that she is the author of, Stars in Her Eyes, Navigating the Maze of Childhood Autism. So very exciting. I understand that it's a compilation of writings from a bunch of different people, and we're excited. She was recommended to us by Marcia Hines,
Yes,
a good friend of both of us.
Who wrote I Know You're In There, about her son's recovery from autism.
Yes, so we're very excited to have her with us. She's going to be joining us via Skype in just a minute. Stick with us. More of Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy after these messages.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
TACA means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism. And today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. TACA unites these families and ensures that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, you know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope. One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing, oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with TACA the most is hope. To me, that's what TACA means. TACA means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's gonna do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're gonna do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you know, you go through this 3-week of depression and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we gonna do? And then we found TACA, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that, you know, you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction, and there was hope, and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's gonna be okay, and we're gonna be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without TACA.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found TACA. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon. And we couldn't be more pleased, and without Taka, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. Taka is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At Taka,
At Taka,
At Taka,
We are families with autism helping.
helping.
helping families.
helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College, and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Here, mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is.
Okay.
I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and you know, honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really what you fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite four-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. There's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. And that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it. You know, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters, just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for what you do.
very sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous, tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
You know, get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends. Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around, and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that, and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So as a family, you know, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
What do you think about ABA treatment?
ABA is the one that's documented, but I think that's what I think is important with little kids, the intensity. If this kid's 2, 3, and 4 years old, he needs 20 or 30 hours a week of intensive early intervention, working one-to-one with an effective teacher. And an effective teacher knows kind of how just hard to push, because you got to stretch these kids. If you don't stretch them somewhere, they don't advance. You push on them too hard, they go into sensory shutdown. The worst thing you could do with an autistic 2-year-old is to do nothing with them and just let them sit there rocking. And when I was very young at 2.5, ABA type things were used on me, but it wasn't called ABA in that day. You know, my teacher would hold up a cup and she'd speak slowly. You got to speak slowly to these kids because there's auditory processing problems. She'd say cup, and then I'd say cup, and the teacher would praise me. You know, that's very similar to ABA. You know, ABA in its original form is a little kids program. The whole idea is you're trying to get language jump started. And I like the more flexible kinds of ABA. You got different levels of kids. I had ABA type stuff when I was young, but then after I pulled out of it, I didn't have to go through elaborate things of getting ready for school. I still have this habit now today. I lay my clothes out the night before that I'm going to wear, so when I'm sleepy I can just get them on. And then you have other individuals where they've got to do very structured, breaking down the task analysis. This is where after you get out of the little kids and you get them talking, they kind of diverge into different levels of functioning. And a type of ABA program that'd be suitable for a very severe kid would not be something you'd want to do with a mild Asperger kid, because you're going to bore them to death and make them hate school.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we've been talking about some things that are rocketing around the internet news, and one of those is out of Frankfort, Kentucky, another case of a school and treatment of 2 special needs students. In this case, a school resource officer placed 2 disabled elementary school students in handcuffs behind the chair, handcuffed like this. 2 little kids.
On their upper arms is the picture that I've seen.
On their upper arms, like painful looking.
Yeah.
And the mothers are now filed a federal lawsuit against the official and his boss. And a video of the incident, if you'd like to see it, is apparently all over Facebook. Did you see it on Facebook?
I did not. I saw the picture on Facebook, but I did not see the video.
Well, I'm sure if you search it, it was released by the American Civil Liberties Union. They filed the lawsuit Monday on behalf of the 2 women from Northern Kentucky. And in the video, you clearly see an 8-year-old boy with ADHD. I've heard the diagnosis. I'm not sure what the correct diagnosis is, struggling and crying out as he sits in a chair, the handcuffs around his biceps, and his arms locked behind him. Then the school resource officer says, "You don't get to swing at me like that. You can do what we've asked you to do, or you can suffer the consequences." It was not clear why the administrators took the video, and school officials had not responded to a request for comment Tuesday. The handcuffs were too large to fit around the boy's wrist, as well as those of a second child, a 9-year-old girl who was also handcuffed at her biceps. Both children had been diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and are only identified by their initials. The Kenton County Sheriff's Office declined to comment and said that they put the children in handcuffs because they were placing themselves and other people in danger of harm. And that's what the book, I wonder what book that is, says to do. The lawsuit says the boy was 3 feet 6 inches tall and weighed 52 pounds. He was removed from class last August because he was not following his teacher's directions. Gee, wonder why that is with ADHD. The boy then tried to leave the principal's office but was physically restrained by administrators until his mother arrived to escort the boy to the bathroom.
The ACLU has said in a statement that both children were being punished for behavior related to their disabilities.
Yes.
And they have filed claiming that they have violated the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they are seeking, the lawsuit is calling for training and seeking damages for the families.
Yeah, and an ACLU disability counselor said, shackling children is not okay. We do agree with that statement.
Absolutely.
It is traumatizing, and in this case, it is also illegal.
And we've talked for a long time about the fact that autism there's a growing case to be made for the fact that this is a civil rights issue. And glad to see the ACLU get on board because that's a strong arm that we need to tell schools not okay.
Not okay.
And more training is needed.
Yes.
And not just for the school, but absolutely for the school and for the law enforcement. It kind of boggles my mind how we've seen this over the last couple of years, several of these incidents where an incident happens. Do you remember the second grader who was supposedly holding his teacher and his entire class hostage in a closet, and she called the police, and the police took the second grader away in handcuffs?
Yeah.
And former teacher said, there's a whole lot that went wrong in order for a second grader to get an adult and 30 children into a closet. And I mean, we're laughing now.
I know,
because come on now. Who is the adult?
Right.
And for you to, and we are autism moms, and we've seen some behavior, and we've taken some hits from time to time and been clawed by our children. I'm not saying that our kids' behavior can't be scary, but you need to properly train people in a classroom so that they know what to do before they're in a closet calling the police. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And before they're handcuffing an elementary school child that weighs 50 pounds.
How do you get to the moment when you're like, I know what I'm going to do is call 911 on a 9-year-old?
Yeah. Yeah. What about calling the parents? What about calling in someone with more experience with dealing with our children on the spectrum in de-escalating a tantrum or violent outburst?
It's called a behavior intervention plan, folks, and you should have a BCBA on campus who can not only write one, but who can tell everyone how to implement it. And if you can't, let me just tell you that the Institute for Behavioral Training can train your staff how to do that for like $7.
Yes.
Hello.
Right.
And there's a behavior intervention plan builder on skills.
Right.
And that'd cost you like $7 too. So don't talk to me about it's just too expensive either.
It's not too expensive, not today.
Mind-boggling.
And what scares me even more, Shannon, is to think that if a 52-pound child is being handcuffed, what are they going to do with a high school child who has some sort of outburst or tantrum and gets out of control? That's where deaths happen.
And then what happens when we do that with an adult? And we've seen all summer long exactly what happens in those instances.
Yeah.
So we need the training for the classroom so that classrooms aren't having to call the police, but then we need training for all of the police when they are called, whether it's at a school or a movie theater or in front of a store, wherever it is. And I do say, too, that it really, we can keep working towards that, but it's really important for us to train our kids, too. I really encourage everybody to check out Be Safe, the movie, because it trains our kids what to do when they're staring down a gun barrel and the police are saying, get down on the ground, and teaches them how to react so that there's no reason for it to escalate.
Agreed. So we have some more cheerful updates for our viewers.
Yes.
We here at Center for Autism and Related Disorders, our Thousand Oaks office, in just a little north of Los Angeles. We have a delightful summer camp going on. It's the superhero summer camp with the Miracle Project, which, as many of you know, is the incredible performance, drama, art program started by Elaine Hall, Coach E, with remarkable results for our children by getting them to participate in drama. And Act Today gave grants for 20 children to participate in this program. It's going on this week. And your son also is doing the program, and my son is also doing the program. Wyatt and Jem are there. And yesterday, as always with the Miracle Project, miracles happen. Yeah. We had a young girl who was nonverbal, and this was in the morning session with some of the kids that need a little more extra support. And she started humming Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And when it came time for the singing, this little girl who, as I said, had previously been considered nonverbal, started singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star with her grandmother watching, and not a dry eye in the house, complete joy, and just, it's magic. It's magic.
Well, and I understand that you guys were on NPR this morning.
Yes, we were on NPR in Ventura County, I believe, talking about CARD, having the program there, and Act Today sponsoring children. And we want to do it on a regular basis at some of the CARD locations around the country. So we'd like to not just do a summer camp, but Act Today would like to fund an ongoing program at CARD locations around the country where there's a weekly class for the kids to come in and do this. And I just have to say, Coach Elaine Hall, they call her the miracle worker. She really is. And her staff are so great. They're so enthusiastic. They're so out there with the kids. Their musical abilities, their abilities to engage the children is wonderful. I can't say enough good things about it.
Well, and I want to say two quick things having to do with that. We had Coach E on the show last week, and one of the things that she talked about is that, because I know you guys watch the show sometimes and you salivate and you think, well, that's just happening in California, darn it. Right, but it isn't. That the Miracle Project goes lots of different places, and that Coach E has a plan to bring it to more communities. And in the coming year, in the coming school year, she's going to bring the program to 3 communities. 2 have already been decided. She's looking for a 3rd one. So and then she'll look for 3 more the following year. So somebody needs to jump on that and say, I want the Miracle Project to come to where I am, and go on their website, themiracleproject.org, and say, I want it to come to my community, be the first one to do that, or get on the waiting list for next year. And then I also want to say that we had the opportunity to have, she wasn't on the show yesterday, but in the office yesterday, we had Spencer Hart with us yesterday in the office. And Spencer was on the show last week, and she's the young woman who found her voice literally with the Miracle Project and sings opera, and has been invited to come to China, which is her country of birth origin. She's been invited to come and sing there with a group of other children and really make an impact, because in China they think when a child has autism it's game over. Right. And so they really want for her to come and sing and show people what autism can look like, given the right resources. And so Spencer has a GoFundMe project because she doesn't have enough money to get to China. So you can make a donation to that. She only has a couple of more days. I have shared it on my Facebook, and we'll also, our Facebook page is getting really busy today on Autism Live. But check it out. You can go to you can go to my Facebook page and find it, but we'll also try to put it up on the Autism Live one as well. Even if you have $1 to donate to Spencer, if everybody who's watching give $1,
I got to make a donation today.
Then not only can she go to China, and that'd be a wonderful experience for that young woman, but she can change people's minds in China just by singing.
And I think she's already changed people's minds here.
Yes.
We've talked a lot to her mother about this experience, and I said to Jill the other day, did you ever believe that you were going to be taking your daughter to perform at places like where she performed at the Autism Speaks concert with Neil. I mean, Neil Young played at that. Brad Pitt gave away a guitar at the Pantages Theater here in LA.
Brad Pitt came up to her and said, "Oh my goodness!"
Right, and she also she's performing all over, not just with the LA City Youth Opera. But this was a girl so disabled by anxiety that she could not go into a room with strangers. So the Miracle Project is what brought out the fact. That's how they found out that she had a perfect operatic range. So now she's had spots on Parenthood. She's traveling here, there, and everywhere, and hopefully, and she will be traveling to China soon. And it changed the whole picture. It just turned everything on its head. And so that those miracles can happen for you. They don't just happen when a child may not recover at 5, but that doesn't mean just because they don't have autism that they're not going to have special talents and special abilities that can be uncovered later in life. So I think it's just a very hopeful message to all our parents out there that these talents can be discovered at any age and be a blessing at any age.
And since we're talking about this, I'm going to let a little cat out of the bag because I need to mention that on Monday, you have an opportunity on Monday morning to watch On the Spectrum with Matt Asner. That's a new segment that has been added to our Autism Live network, and so it happens once a month, and it's this coming Monday on August 10th. That will air at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is noon Eastern time. And his very special guests on the show are his dad, Ed Asner. And you missed yesterday.
I know.
It was very, because he was here yesterday, and Spencer Hart will also be on the show. That's why they were all here yesterday. And also Nava Paskowitz will be on the show as well. But I had the opportunity to be there for a while with Ed Asner and Spencer Hart to see them interact. And have you seen this?
No.
You have got to see it. It was something to behold because the two of them broke into a scene from Up. I'm not kidding you. And she knows all the lines. She had it on her phone and she knows all the lines. And I kind of walked by at one point and she was like, "Okay, boss." And I said, "Did you just call him boss?" And then he was doing the lines and I went, "I am in a scene from Up right now with the two of them." And they laughed like two little kids. In a pumpkin patch.
Is that?
It was beyond adorable to watch him with her, and she adores the ground that he walks on, and the feeling is very mutual. It was, I wish we'd had a camera on that. The next time I know the two of them are going to be someplace, we have
to capture that.
But it was hilarious, absolutely wonderful, and so sweet. It was so fun to spend some time with Ed yesterday, and as people in the office were coming up to him and introducing themselves and getting pictures taken, that's why you were seeing pictures being leaked yesterday from, going, why is Ed Asner at Card? And
so that's coming up on Monday.
That's coming up on Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time. But it was fascinating to watch people because people would come into my office and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Asner," and some people were coming and going, "I just loved you so much in the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Lou Grant thing. You just changed my life. When I went to college, I studied journalism because of you," and and I'm just nodding along. And then the next group of people came in that were a little bit younger, and they were like, Elf. They were like, "You are my quintessential Santa Claus because you are the guy from Elf. You are my Santa Claus always. You will always and forever be my Santa Claus." And you go, "Oh, thank you very much." And then the really younger ones would come in and go, "Up is my favorite movie." And I said to him, I said, Ed, you really have it covered, don't you?
Yeah, he does all the generations.
You made sure that every single generation adored you. And he's like, "Yeah, it was all a plan." Right?
And let's remind everybody that Ed Asner is the father of a son with autism and the grandfather of a child with autism.
And he's got his own little event coming up, which is one of the reasons why he's on the Spectrum on Monday.
His poker thing?
It's the poker night.
Okay.
So he actually will be playing a little bit of poker with his son on the show on Monday.
Oh, how great.
So,
Okay.
So Autism Speaks, it's a Ed Asner poker night coming up in September. So we should take a short break. If you haven't figured it out by now, we're having some technical difficulties with getting the doctor that we had planned on on the show.
So it's just two chicks sitting around talking autism.
That's
That's
right.
what the show
That's what
is,
the show
really.
is. So we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back. We'll see if we have the doctor. If not, Nancy and I
We'll figure out something else
take
to
your
talk about.
questions, and
Yeah.
we'll be with you in just a few minutes. Stick with us. What do you think about the prevalence of autism, the rising number of prevalence, and what are your thoughts on what this world is going to be like with so many individuals on the autism spectrum?
I think a lot of the increase is just increased detection on the milder spectrum, but I think there is some severe autism that's increased. Older parents having children would be one factor. You know, lack of vitamins, like B vitamins prior to pregnancy, chemical insults, taking prescription drugs in the first trimester. There's a whole lot of little insults like this that can interact with susceptible genetics. I work in a technical field, and there's mild autism and Asperger's and dyslexics all over it. One of the best millwrights in the feedlot industry is severe dyslexic. He's one of the best millwrights that there is, and that builds complicated feed mills. And the thing that worries me is they've taken so many of the hands-on classes out of the school: cooking, sewing, woodworking, metalworking, auto shop. There's a lot of kids that are kind of different. They make great mechanics, and we have a shortage of mechanics right now. We have a shortage of engineers. I'm getting concerned that there's some smart kids that are kind of different, kind of getting a handicap label. Now, where the diagnosis really makes a difference is later on in life with their relationships. And the wife is wondering why the husband is not very demonstrative and, you know, not very lovey-dovey and emotional. And this is where getting a diagnosis can really help their marriage, because then the wife understands. See, that's where that kind of, when it comes to relationships, that's where the diagnosis can really, really make a difference. I think one of the problems today is sort of a more social society today. You know, the kid that was a little bit not too social before, he'd be out there in the auto mechanic shop, getting along great with the shop teacher, and they got rid of that kind of stuff. You see, I'm in a weird situation where I walk back and forth between the autism world and the sort of metalworking and cattle working kind of world. And there's farmers that I know that are on the spectrum, and they're doing great in farming.
So maybe it's not that these kids actually do have a diagnosis then, but maybe the prevalence was there before?
Well, I think on the mild end, I think the prevalence is probably there. But I think there's severe autism that has increased. There's way too much sugar in the diet. We also have an omega-3 deficient diet in this country. We're not getting enough omega-3s. I think let's go back to the alternative things: fish oil supplements, some of the B vitamins, and lots of exercise. Kids are eating way too much sugar, and kids are not just getting enough activity. You know, mother used to say to me, go outside and run the energy out of you. Well, and kids aren't doing that today, so that makes the ADHD worse.
It has become a star-studded, celebrity-attended mega fundraiser. And it should, because autism is increasing so dramatically. We need more moments like this.
It's kind of like going to the Oscars, and I get to host all of these unbelievably generous people to show their support for children with autism that cannot access or afford treatment.
To be in a position where I could contribute to a cause like this is the least I could do.
Hey, now I'm going to 500. You're going to 500. Let's start at 500. I'll go to 7. 650, 7. So,
I first want to thank everybody for coming out and really helping this Denims and Diamonds fundraiser, because autism has affected so many people, and the work that they've been doing is just off the charts and just wonderful.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to work out the technical difficulties, so we'll be rescheduling with Dr. Linda Barboa. And we apologize that didn't work out, but we'll figure out whatever the difficulty is and have her at another time.
Yes.
But you were just telling me that you're going to be in a fashion show that benefits Act Today.
Yes. Next Tuesday night, at the Westlake Village Inn, which is a beautiful inn in Westlake Village, California, not far from the studios here. There is a end of summer fashion bash, and the proceeds from the raffle sales, and there's also there's great jewelry and fashion and all kinds of things where we get a percentage of proceeds for Act Today. And then yours truly is one of the Real Women models. And it's summer fashion, so I understand there's some bathing suits. I said I hope there's a lot of spandex and a lot of strategic flowing outfits. But yes, I will be up there in my 60-year-old bod.
I have to see if I can get there to see this. This is the first I heard about it.
I know. Well, you can go to our Facebook page.
Tuesday, Kelby. Kelby's like, when am I going to this?
When are you going Tuesday? I think it's $25.
Okay.
It's a great event. Jennifer Schultz, who is a fashion coordinator, stylist, just an extraordinary woman who's on our Denim and Diamonds committee. She puts on these fashion shows, and they are really fun. I mean, it's a fun event. There's
apparently
cocktails.
Kelby's there with a camera.
All right, great. Well, Kelby, I'm going to be. Let's just put it this way. I better go into my quick weight loss training, my Shape Up program.
Please.
And I'm going to be double Spanx in it, I think, under whatever swimsuit they give me.
I'm telling you, there isn't enough swimsuit spandex to get me to convince me to do something like that. There aren't enough Spanx in the world.
Well, one of the things I want women to know, because in my former life, I had written 2 books, one called Not Your Mother's Midlife, a 10-step guide to fearless aging.
Right.
And Fearless Women Midlife Portraits, which was a photo essay book, and I wrote these books with Marilyn Kentz, co-authored them with her. She used to be part of the group The Mommies. And we took a little break from our TV careers. This was pre-autism days, and wrote some books and did some speaking on fearless aging, and we had a stage show. And I want women to know that at 60, you can be proud of who you are and what you've got. I mean, I'm not going to be out there in a thong, but... a nice beach cover-up with, some flowing lines.
I'm very proud of who I am, but that doesn't mean I'm showing any skin to anybody.
I don't know that I'll show a lot of skin, but I think you'll see some pretty, like maybe a caftan.
Yes. There you go. A moo-moo. That's what we call it.
But go to Act Today's webpage, act-today.org. And you will find information on it. It's going to be a fun night.
Okay, and we had a couple of questions for people that were just for us. Somebody wants to know, when did our kids start potty training?
Interesting. Wyatt, we had started potty training at around 2 to 3, but we weren't having great success until he had an ABA team in place. And it wasn't really consistent until he was really 4.5, almost 5, that he was consistently potty trained. However, we had issues. We had issues where he would go to the bathroom in the pool. And I don't mean number 1, I mean number 2. That was a very common thing. We had to deal with getting him out of the pool, telling him he couldn't go back in, that the pool water wasn't safe. There had to be a consequence to that behavior.
Yeah.
We have also had, and Wyatt is 13 now, we've had continual problems with some cleanliness issues in the bathroom when it comes to bowel movements, with proper use of toilet paper, not touching things, not touching the toilet paper roll, the walls. We've had a lot of issues with that we are continuing to work on with our ABA team. So at 13, we're still having some issues with toileting.
And for Jem, it was funny because before Jem started to regress into autism, he was requesting the potty when he was 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went and bought a potty chair when he was 18 months, and he would go over to it, take off diaper, and sit in it. And then a couple of months later, when he lost language, he didn't know where the potty was, didn't know anything about it, and so all of that went away. But I think when we started to work on potty training, it went really quickly, and part of it was because there was somewhere in his brain a memory of that.
Yeah, Wyatt started very young too, and
Yeah.
I believe was successful and then lost some success.
So we didn't really target potty training until after the ABA team had been with us for probably 2 or 3 months.
Mhm.
So by that point, he was 3. And then they were able to very quickly, in 4 days, get him potty trained. And like we had accidents for maybe 2 weeks, and that was the end of that.
Mhm.
And then getting the number 2 potty trained took another good 6 months.
Mhm.
And I've talked extensively about how they did that and how we did that. And then we never had another problem. But the weird thing about Jem, I think then the next bastion for most people is then getting the nighttime potty training. We never had to worry about that.
We
He
didn't
never,
either. Wyatt lasted through the night.
Yeah,
It's-
even as a baby,
Yeah.
I could put a diaper on Jem when he was 2 weeks old and put him in the crib, and he would sleep however long he slept. He never peed in his sleep. He just didn't. And like maybe the 3 times in his life he did, he was running a fever when he did it, like a high fever, and wasn't even aware.
Right. Now, I don't know, did they say what age their child was?
No, they did not. They just wanted to know
Okay.
when.
Well, it can be challenging, and like I said, there can still be other issues.
Yeah.
The other thing we caught Wyatt doing was going to the bathroom out in the yard because he didn't have siblings, he had dogs, and we thought he was emulating that behavior.
Yeah.
So we had to teach that was not okay.
Okay.
So there were a lot of complexities, and I think ABA is definitely the way to go on this to really instill these good habits.
There's a great procedure called the Fox and Azerin procedure that almost everyone agrees is the procedure for potty training. And you can find that online. We've done tons of videos about it. Somebody else wanted to know what is a 1:1 aid. It's called a 1-to-1 aid, and that means that the aid is interacting with one child. They're not there for a bunch of child. They're interacting with one child, and that can be in a school setting, that can be in a playground setting, that could be anywhere, but it's one aid interacting with one child. So when people refer to a 1-to-1 aid, that's what it is. There's lots of 2-to-1 aids where there's 2 kids on the spectrum and the aid is interacting with both of them, and then there's classroom aids, but that's what a 1-to-1 is. We're completely out of time. I do have to let you guys know that we are not doing a live show tomorrow. We were doing a live show, but I have to be at registration for my son going to school. That's a whole other Oprah right there. We're not gonna talk about that today, but eventually we'll talk about that. But we have to go to school registration, so there will be no live show tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday with On the Spectrum with Matt Asner, with his exciting guest Ed Asner, talking about his poker night and talking about being a grandpa and a dad. Also, Nava Paskowitz will be there, and Spencer Hart,
who is Ed's daughter-in-law.
Ed's daughter-in-law.
Matt's wife.
And has a really wonderful family retreat that I would love to send you on, madam, that they're getting ready to do at the Pacific Palisades. There's a thing that's just for the dads. There's stuff for the moms, meditating with this fabulous guy, John Sahakian. We have to talk. And there's stuff for the kids, too. And it's at the beach. I want to send you. We're out of time. But until Monday, don't forget about Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye for now.